Hi, everybody. So today is Sunday, August 2nd, and I thought I'd like to share a few words about the concepts of spirit and soul. For me, this has been a really important distinction, and it's made by Thomas More, the author of Care of the Soul. So his last name is spelled M-O-O-R-E. I found it really helpful, and maybe it'll be helpful for you as well. So I'll talk about soul first, and then I'll talk about spirit, and I'll contrast them. And then I'll give a couple of examples from my life that relate to both of them. And hopefully the examples will illustrate them and make the concepts more clear. So for soul, Thomas More unequivocally says that soul is the deepest part of the self. And when More uses these concepts, he's very clear to say that he's not talking about spirit and soul as though they're immortal entities, as though they actually exist within the self. They're better thought as metaphors. So what are they metaphors of? Well, the soul is the deepest part of the self, according to More. And More connects the soul with our desire for attachment. So whereas the spirit loves detachment, the soul loves attachment. Whereas the spirit loves exploration and adventure, the soul loves familiarity. The soul is involved when we maintain certain routines in our lives, like washing the dishes or doing laundry, making the bed. Those are activities that engage our soul. They're activities that are involved with normal maintenance and a deep care of ourselves and our well-being. More associates spirit with vision, with outward lateral movement. So travel, for example, would be the expression of spirit. Spirit is often also associated with feelings of transcendence, of control, mastery, superiority, clarity. And we can also connect spirit with sky energy, with overseeing, supervising, and planning. Whereas soul, so that was spirit, whereas soul is interested in and draws energy from repetition, familiarity, hearth, home, but also conviviality, intimacy, coziness. So I hope the contrast is becoming apparent. So my example for soul is that when I was growing up, my mother's sister, my aunt, lived nearby, my aunt and her husband. And my mom and my father would host my aunt and uncle, and my aunt and uncle would host our family, which was me, my sister, my mother and father. And these were usually dinner parties. The food was excellent, prepared by some combination of my aunt, uncle, father, and mother. There was good music, there was laughter, great storytelling. My aunt was a travel agent. She didn't have kids because she wanted to travel the world, and she did. But she also happened to be a magical, captivating storyteller. My sister and I loved listening to her stories. And, you know, the occasional tension, because we're talking about family after all, right? So these are examples of great soul cultivation. In many ways, I feel my soul was forged, my capacity for intimacy and conversation, and my love of stories was formed in these dinner parties, which would happen every couple of weeks, either at my aunt's or my parents'. And then, sadly, my sister passed away when she was 42 of cancer And my aunt died when she was only 69, also of cancer. Both of these things happened in the same year, 2015, within 7 months of each other. So it was devastating for me. And I, tried to understand these events in some way. I don't have a metaphysical framework for life, so I don't see this as part of a larger plan, although it might be, and I'm simply not aware of what that plan is, or part of some larger intelligence. My sister's death, I felt, was tragic because she was on an ascending path, living a very fulfilling life. But the result of these deaths has gotten me to reflect, and I came across Thomas More's Care of the Soul, which is a book I'd attempted to read when I was in my 20s. It came out in 1992 when I turned 22, and I attempted it in my 30s. I felt that Thomas More was going to be an important figure for me, but it wasn't until I was in my late 40s that Care of the Soul really spoke to me. And journey since the passing of these two people who I loved so much has been very much about caring for my soul, understanding myself a little bit better, and coming to terms with, like, literally journaling and writing about the value of these two women in my life, which has been tremendous. So that's my little encapsulated version of soul as an illustration. My example of spirit is, well, first I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for this example and imagine the sky above you, being outdoors somewhere. It could be a night sky or a day sky, but you are traveling and you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow. You have a rough idea of where you're going to go, but you're not sure. There's this feeling of great freedom and excitement. And that's what I was feeling. When I was 23 years old, I had taken a semester of study in Germany, and then I did a month of backpacking by myself in Europe after that. And I remember having everything I needed on my back, being on a ferry in the Greek islands, looking out at the water, looking at the sky, feeling that this was an ancient trade route. I was following in the footsteps of hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people. And at that time, it was 1994, and the internet was not highly developed. So nobody knew where I was. I didn't have a cell phone. My parents knew I was traveling to Greece. My sister knew that as well. But nobody knew exactly where I was. And this was an incredibly wonderful feeling. So in a sense, you could say at this point, my soul and my spirit were connected. And Thomas More says, at their best, soul and spirit are indistinguishable. So, the feeling of being lost can be very painful, but it can also be quite thrilling. You don't know what's going to happen next. So the soul has both of these aspects. The feeling of being abandoned can be terrible. But this feeling I had on the boat in the Greek islands, I was actually sailing from Athens, from the port there, I forget the name of it, to Santorini, and just had this wonderful ancient feeling, and a feeling of wildness, of freedom, of being able to set my own course, being the master of my own life. So that was definitely a spirit moment. I felt like I was in control, but at the same time it was as if I was tossed to the winds. So those are my illustrations of spirit and soul. I hope they're helpful. And you can probably think of examples from your own life, and that would be more helpful for you, I'm sure. There's a line from an Ezra Pound poem where the narrator says something like, my spirit soared as high as the sky. And that's the feeling of transcendence, being on top of the world, that I had on that boat. So I just want to do a little summary and to talk about what soul and spirit mean. So whereas spirit is drawn to detachment, freedom, and simplicity, elegance, efficiency, soul is drawn to complexity, attachment, connection, bonding, intricacy, slowness. The soul is more past-oriented, and the spirit is more future-oriented. As I said, the spirit is often involved with feelings of superiority, while the soul is involved with feelings of inferiority, of sadness, of melancholy. These are engagements of the soul, and they pass through us. You know, all these feelings pass through us. I've heard the comparison that our feelings are like clouds passing through the sky of our being. So that's where I'd like to stop for today. I hope that distinction may be helpful for you, or perhaps at least provide some food for thought. And I'd love to get your feedback on these, my explanation of these concepts, which, of course, books have been written on each, and I'm trying to put them both into a 12-minute YouTube video. So thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.